All right, we're back, and it's COMP123, and it's week 8, lesson 8, part 3. We were just speaking about exception handling. We started into it. We're about 26 out of 54 slides, about halfway through, pretty much. Got another halfway to go, and then you guys will be experts on exception handling, right? With like 2 hours. Actually, you'll have to try it, right? All right, so here's an example. I've got this TryParse. What's the difference between TryParse, the TryParse method, way back in chapter 8 we were supposed to look at this, right? And it's like a try-catch, yeah? But what we're doing here is we're saying we're using this funky out variable called number, right? So we're saying we're taking our input string, so whatever the input string is, and what we're going to try and do is put it out to a number. If it's true, then the number is equal to this default value. If it's false, right, we can't try parse it anymore. It's not an incorrect. It's an incorrect value. We can send people back to ask for the input again. It's almost like a little quick, like a try-catch statement. It's almost like for input validation only. So here's an example of this, right? If I've got a conversion, I'm trying to convert from this input string, right, as an example, I've got this return statement, right? So here's something interesting. I got my Boolean up here, was successful is equal to true, right? And I've got my try-catch block, but at the bottom I've got a return. So that's another option of the try-catch. So try, catch, and then return. I can return if it was successful or not. I can return something at the end, right? So again, what I can also do is connect with something called a finally block. I've got try, I got a catch, and I got a finally, right? And basically what it says is it contains actions to perform at the end of a try-catch, right? And executes whether the try block identifies an exception or not. It's almost like an else. So, or anything, no matter what happens, it's not just either or, it's going to happen. The finally block is going to execute regardless of what happens, whether it's an error or not. Okay? Christina, are you okay? Now you're being recorded. You're being immortalized on YouTube. All right? No problem. Okay, so here's an example of that. So here's try. We're going to try and do these statements. We're going to catch the exception. Here's an example, whatever, some exception, whatever it is. And then finally, statements execute whether you get the exception or not, right here. Why would I want to do this in this try-catch block? Why not just not have the finally and do something else? I mean, I'm going to do it anyway. These statements are going to kick off regardless of what I do here, right? So why not just not have the finally in there at all? And then, well, there's some real good things about encapsulating this namespace in here. Again, I can declare variables. It's almost like a little extra block of code that I can use to kind of create a condition for myself right at the end, right, where I can test for something and then return something back to the user or send some messaging back to my the rest of my application if I'm running, and it can run nicely in this little block. Sometimes also I can put inside the finally statement, I can put another try-catch block. Remember, you can put try-catch blocks within try-catch blocks, just like we put nested statements one into another. A nested for loop as an example, or a nested, some other nested structures, right? Here's another example. For file reading and I/O, we're going to tackle this tomorrow. We're going to open the file, we're going to read the file, we're going to place the file data in the array, which is one of your assignments, right? Calculate the average from the data, and then display the average. This is almost like pseudocode right here, right? And then we're going to say, hey, catch my I/O exception. I'm listening for an I/O issue, right? An I/O error, input-output error. And then finally, if the file is open, close it up. If you're done your job and you don't get an I/O error, right, then you can do your calculations. That's fine, right? And then finally, after it's done, close your file if the file is open. So if you've done this, then do this. Kind of neat, right? Again, it gives us more control. The more of these structures you're learning, that you're picking up and you're taking away with you, is another tool in your tool belt, right? We always want to be using try-catch blocks when we get user input. Always, always, always. And it's also a very good method to use for our own debugging, our internal debugging. Okay. Let's take a look at this now. All right, so here's a method. Class price list. Let's take a look at this. We've got a double array. It's called price, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 elements of different kinds of double values. These are literals right here. And then here I'm declaring, right, a public static void method called display price. Void means I'm returning nothing, right? I'm listening for an integer value that we're getting, and we're going to declare a local variable with it called item. Let's see how I'm interpreting methods maybe a little differently than you've seen it before, right? I'm listening for a local variable, right? That's what it's going to create. This parameter is the local variable for my display price, right? And then what I'm going to take is my console.writeLine. The price is, I'm going to concatenate a string together plus price, which is this array, and I'm indexing with the item index, whatever the item is, and I'm kicking it out to string and changing it into a currency format. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is problematic because I'm taking this stuff in here, 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. I'm putting, I'm only indexing one of them. So if the user decides to put a number in here that's outside of this doubles range, so let's say, for example, I've only got 0, 1, 2, and 3 elements. So it's the 0th element, the first element, the second element, the third element. And if I put a number 4 in there, I'm in trouble. It's going to kick out an error, right? But it's happening here, right here inside the method. How do I do that? How do I use a try-catch block here? Well, here's an example of that. So I've got my main, I've got my integer, which is the item. I'm listening for my console, so enter an item number, right? I'm trying to convert it. I'm reading it in. And then I'm going to kick off this pricelist.displayPrice method. Right? Here's my displayPrice method. PriceList is the main class, right? So all I'm saying is that because I've declared display price as a method, it belongs to the display class, which is the main class that we've just made, right?
So it will recognize the array.
Hold on. So the item is going to go in here, right? And then when it's going to try and catch it, but will it catch in here? That's the question. Will you be able to catch an issue that's going into a method that's outside of your try-catch block? That's my question. See, the try-catch block is happening with these 3 lines, right? But the input that's going in here, can we validate what's going on in this method outside of my try-catch block? That's the question. Let's see what happens. And if we're hoping for this index out of range exception error, right? So what's the output? Well, the output is enter an item, and then all of a sudden, if I put now it says 4. It's supposed to say 4. It looks like a 1 to me, but if it says 4, index was outside the bounds of the array. The price is 0, right? Let's try that. So we've got a bunch of these inputs as an example, right? And I want to do the calculation as an example, right? But I want to do it so that whatever the number is that I'm getting, here's my number, right? And I'm going to take my result and age and all that kind of stuff, enter the number to divide by age, right? I'm going to kind of get this stuff right here into its own method. Let's try that out. So first I enter my age, and then I'm going to follow up by entering a method that could potentially divide by 0, right? So let's try that out. Now if I do it with this, enter a number to divide by 0, and here's my number to divide by 0 with, it'll catch the number right there, right? Because it's entering a method where it'll be a divide by 0 error, right? It'll catch me right here. But when I do this, if I capture the whole thing in here, right, and I send it to a method and I send in something like result and age and the number, that's what's happening. Will it still catch the error? It's a little bit different example than the one in the book. Let's try it out. So I'm going to extract, I'm going to go refactor, extract method, right? I'm going to call it my own method. And let's say, you know, divide age. We'll call the method divide age. Oops. Okay, that's the method that we're creating. And if you notice, it's a private static void method that we're going to be creating, right? It's going to take age, and look what it says here, out the number and out the result. This is bad, right? This is what I'm doing actually is I'm returning two values by reference without type parameters. Okay, I'll accept that for now. I don't like it, but I'll accept it. So here's my new method, divide age. Okay, cool. Now I'm calling this method right here inside my try block, right here. And I'm waiting for my divide by 0. Well, divide by 0 is not going to be caught here, right? If it's going to divide by 0, it's going to be caught in here, inside of my method call, right? So let's see if it works. So I'm going to run it, and my age is, all right. And let's say, I'm going to call it my number to divide by, I'm going to divide by 12. Everything works fine. So I'm testing my code to make sure it works. Right, let's try that again. And this time I'll try some gobbledygook, right? Enter a number to divide your age by. And then, hey, input string was not in the correct format. So I'm getting that back from coming back out of my method, right? Because I entered this number to divide by age in the method, not inside the main catch, the try catch block, right? So the method was actually caught. Why? Control of the program shifts from that main try catch block into my method and back, right? When it shifts into my method, because I'm inside a try catch block, I'm still listening for errors, right? So that's why it's coming back out with the type of error. Let's try this again one more time. So I'm in here, and then enter my age, right? Now there's a trick here as well. I want you to see what the trick is. If I go, you know, my age, and then I divide by 0, hey, attempt to divide by 0, so that fires too. So both those methods triggered. The general exception that I'm running with the exception class, again, a catch-all exception class, and the divide by 0 exception, which is a specific type of exception I'm listening for, right? It's both types of exceptions. But it's happening down here in this divide by 0 method that's being triggered because the flow of execution of my code shifts whenever I call a method. It leaves regular execution flow, which is inside my try block, and goes into my divide age method and comes back. Now, this is the kind of weird things that's going on here. I'm sending an out, right? Here's my out. My divide age is actually sending in my age, and I'm also sending out the results and all this kind of stuff, right? So the result variable is what's coming back out. So let's restructure my method to even be more efficient. So really what I want to say, because I don't want to use outs, because those outs are ugly for me. They drive me nuts. They make me crazy, right? So I'm going to say result is equal to divide age, but I don't have a return yet. So I've got to restructure my method here for a second. So I'm not going to pass in result. I don't want that. I don't want to pass out the number, right? I just want to pass the number into the result. I want to do that too. See if this works. And here inside my divide age, I want to put a return. Instead of void, right, I'm going to return an integer, right? Here's my integer. And my return type is where I'm going to do my calculation, right? I'm going to return my calculation down here, the result. But I don't want to do my result, the result here, right? I want to do this, age divided by the number here. So I'm just changing my code a little bit. And we'll put it as in brackets just because that's the kind of guy that I am. So I like to isolate what I'm returning so we know that there's a calculation going on here. And I'll take this console.write line for a second. bear with me, and put it back up here, right? Because you typed blah, 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 blah. Maybe that's not part of it, right? And I'm returning result, age divided by the number. Man, what's going on now? It says no overload for method divide age. Takes 2 arguments, age and the number. Oh, I forgot that part too. I don't need this anymore. Right, got to change my signature. And I don't need this anymore, this out. Right? The number. Hey, hold on a second. Do I even need to put the number out there? Or can I just do it here? Can I establish the number in here by doing one of these? So int the number, a local number, and I don't have to do this anymore because who cares if it's all I care on the main structure of my program is that it has a result, right? I don't need this anymore. And up here in my code, I can get rid of the number, right? Because I'm not going to ask for the number anymore. And inside my divide age code, I'm just asking for my age. That's a little bit better, huh? I'm still getting my result, but I'm only inputting my age. And inside my method here, my method call, I'm taking my age, asking for a number, which is a temporary variable, the number, right? And I'm returning my age divided by the number, right? That's my return statement. And I'm not using any outs. There's no outs being used. That's reference stuff, man, which I don't like. I don't like using outs or ref ever. That's bad form. Bad form, Captain Hook. Okay, let's go back. Let's see if this runs the same way. All right, I enter my age. I'll make it 25 this time. Divide by 0. Hey, attempt to divide by 0. It still works. I'm still getting good results back. So this definitely proves that my division by 0 is happening inside my method, but I'm still getting feedback back from my try-catch block. This is good, right? And that's what I wanted to see. Let me save this up on GitHub so you guys have the same code I have, and you can compare it, just because. Extracted divide age method. Okay, and I want to upload my commit here to GitHub. You got it. Okay, so this is definitely a really good thing. It means that even though we run stuff in a method, and it's as long as it's within the try-catch block, we're good to go, right? And that's why it's so important to do this try-catch block whenever we get user input. Okay? I'm going to test you guys on this, eh? Whenever we get user input, is it good to get a try-catch block? The answer is yes. We can't predict those pesky little users of ours, the people that use our code that we sell it to. We don't like those people because they can put whatever they want inside of our code, right? All right, here's another option, another exception. Okay, we've got a while loop. While not is good item. That's a weird way of writing the code. I wouldn't write it that way. But anyways, and I'm trying to start something off, a while loop with a not, typically bad form. You want to write it in a positive way, not a negative if possible, right? But let's look at this. If while not is good item, so if good item is where we're testing to see if it's false, basically, which is right now it is. It is false. So this while condition is going to fire, right? So while not good item, try catch, do this stuff. So that means that if I have an error, I'm going to go back and ask for the console input again. This is good. This is what your command should do. It should continue to ask you for positive input, right, until you provide good input, right? So if you have an error, it's going to keep asking you for input until you give the proper input. Otherwise, it'll keep going forever and ever. You'll never be able to break out of this until you give proper input. Good and bad, right? So here's an example of that. So it says try catch, and at the bottom of the console write line, outside the while loop, when the while loop is completed, it'll say thank you. We can implement something like that too in our little code. Let's try that out. So here we have our try catch block with a couple of catch options. One is a catch all, and the other one is checking for division by 0. That's the two that we have in here. We want to kind of wrap this, wrap a while loop around these two things. So what I'm looking for is proper good input. So I have to set up a flag, some kind of way of knowing that my input was good, right? So maybe something like, we're going to call this thing dirty, right? It's dirty, man. It's dirty, right? And we're going to set up, right now, dirty is if I'm going to say, I'll call it is dirty. If I was to go with what they did, this is the way we would do it, right? Is dirty is true, right? Now this makes more sense. While not is dirty, right? Then da-da-da-da, right? Makes no sense, right? It's better to say you're testing to see if it's clean. While it's not clean, then you're gonna keep going. So if good input, basically, is it good input? Is it a good? You're testing to see if the input that you're getting is not good, right? And if it's not good input, which is true, then you're going to continue. If it's good input, then you're going to exit. So how do we word the variable, right? Because I'm going to write it. I'm going to try and write. Let's just leave is dirty for now, right? But I'm going to create a while loop, right? I don't know what my variable is going to be for the test, right? And I'm going to create a while loop, which that's where I'm going to put this try catch stuff. So all this stuff here, wait for key and blah blah blah. It's going to be in there. I'm going to kind of cut this out and put it inside my while loop in here, right? But I need some kind of test. How do I word my variable so it's positive, right? Well, I could say while input not valid, right? So let's make a variable called input not valid, right? We're going to set right now to true. That's a positive statement, not a negative, right? I'm a positive type of guy, right? Instead of being using a not. Input not valid is true. So while input not valid, which right now it's true, continue to loop, right? If I'm able to get through this kind of stuff, if it's true, right? If I'm able to get back here, I got to set my input to valid, which means I would put my input not valid to false. And if you look at this example here, is good item is equal to true. It's done after all your calculations are done. So we're going to do the same thing with ours. We're going to say input not valid is equal to false because we've already done it. So now the valid input is true, right? And now we can exit out of this while loop. It's better for me, in my estimation, to put in a positive statement like this, where it says, hey, input not valid. While input not valid, then do this. Let me just kind of tab in here a little bit, just for clarity. It's better to do this than to put a negative statement like the not. If you put the exclamation mark, it means not. Reverse whatever whatever's after the not. I don't like that. I think it's in inappropriate form, right? Okay, so we're going to keep looping here. We're going to keep entering your age until you get good input. Yeah.
Can you just go through this step by step what's happening? So input no valid set to true, and then
right now it's not valid, right? Because we don't know if it's valid or not. So it's set to true. I'm setting it to true by default, right? So now this condition is passed. It's going to go do the while loop one time, right? For sure. Now it's going to do your try. You're going to go into your try block and try to do all these statements. As long as it gets to this statement right here on line 30, if it gets here, right, it's going to make this condition false to kick us out of the while loop, right? If this condition remains true, so the input's still not valid because I've entered some weird things, it's going to keep on asking me for input forever. Let's try this out. Okay, enter my age, blah, blah, blah. Press any key. Enter your age, blah, blah, blah. Press any key. Enter my age, blah, blah, blah. Press any key. Hey, I don't like that. I want it when I press any key to continue, and if I enter in here somewhere, I want to do this, right? Here's my wait for any key, right? And after my wait for any key is done, after this is done, inside my wait for any key method, I want to clear the screen. So I'm going to go console.clear. Okay, let's add that in there. That's a little better. Let's see how that works now. So I run it, la la la, enter any key, boom, la la la, enter any key, boom. Okay, cool. So that works. Let's try proper entry. So 25, cool, cool, and divide by 0. Oh, divide by 0. Blah, enter it again. Yeah. Keep doing that as many times as I want until I get to the proper input, over and over again. Now, if I try proper input and I divide by 12 or some other real number, it says the result is 2. It's not really accurate. And then I press space. It takes me out. So what the while loop does, it'll keep asking the user for input over and over again until he gets the proper the input that he wants. Now right now my result is integer. Let's make it double like we did before in the beginning. So make this result double, right? We don't care about the result here in divide age, right? And we're using this conversion so we can get an actual number. Let's try this out now. So run it. Okay, I'm running it. My age is 25 divided by 12, and I get the result is 2. Hey, how come I'm not getting that funky number anymore? Tell me. Well, because we're not converting anymore, right? But whenever we convert down here, right, the result, if I convert this to double, I got to do that up here, right? So my return now should be double. That's what I want to return. And if I do that here, I'm converting this response to double. Can I do that? Let's see what happens with my method now, right? Error, warning, warning, warning. What I'm doing is weird. Putting it out there. So I go 21 divided by 5. I get 4. Okay, that's not right. How come that's not right? I divided it. I converted it, I swear. Right? Let's try that again. Run it. I go 20 divided by 3. Hey, I should get a weird number. That's not, shouldn't be 6. How come? Well, I'm telling it to return, right? This method, return method, is returning a double, and here's my double, age divided by the number. But my age is integer, right? And the number is an integer. What if I did this? If I went this double, would that do it for me? Let's try that out. So I made the number double. So 21 divided by 4, enter. Now I get the number. Why? Because one of the operands has to be double in order for me to get double conversion. Okay? Cool, cool. That's great. Let's test it out to see if I can get an error divide by 0 now. So 21 divide by 0. Hey, the result is infinity. I didn't get an error. How come? Because I'm converting. And that's my issue. When I convert like this, it doesn't know what's happening. Be wary of this. You will not get an error. You'll get some other funky result, which is not what you want. Okay? In order for me to have proper results, I should be listening for a double, right? This should be double and everything else, and there's no conversion. Once I start converting, I got some funky results going on. And also, the result that I'm listening for, as an example, if I kind of enter this, and if I say 21, right? And if I divide by 0.0, is that different than 0? If I do that now. Now, my input string is incorrect because it doesn't know the dot. I'm trying to convert, look what I'm doing down here, right? I'm doing a conversion to int32 in my thing. So I'm actually converting my number as accepting an int32. That's not what I want. I want to do this to double. That's another thing I want to do. So I want to do 2 double. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Here it is right here. That's another error. Let's fix that now and try again. So 21 divided by 0.0, still infinity. How can I fix that problem? So that's a topic for another class, right? Because it covers some of the things we wanted to do. We got through most of this one, but we're going to end it off here because, again, we're kind of at 36 out of 54. There's a little bit left to go through. We'll continue tomorrow morning. Okay?